Hey guys, today we're going to digitize a little zipper pouch. It is fully lined, so you do not see raw seams. It would look like you did it on a sewing machine, so no raw edges. Um, we're going to make a blank one, and then I'm going to show you how to add wording or little designs, whatever. But this is what we're doing today. I will show you on the computer how to digitize it, and then we'll switch and I'll show you what it looks like stitched out. So each step will have two versions, a computer version where you're doing it and a video version, live version, where it shows you what you just did. So it kind of makes sense. So it's going to kind of show you how to digitize it, also how to stitch it out all at the same time. Okay, I hope that makes sense. And let's get to it. Okay guys, so grab your zipper, grab your ruler, and you're going to use millimeters, not inches. And the reason is millimeters are more exact than inches. So grab, this one has millimeters, those are the little tiny ones. And we're going to measure our zipper. The more accurate you measure your zipper, the better it is. Mine measures at 27 millimeters. I'll be honest with you, most zippers, if you get the standard zippers, are going to be 27 millimeters wide. And that's what we're measuring. We're not measuring the width. We really don't care about that. We only want the width. Okay, once you have that, you're going to write that number down. Okay, so 27 millimeters, write that down. Okay, then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to measure the distance from each edge to the zipper. That's important because we don't want our needle to go on that zipper any more than it has to. So what you do is you measure the distance. So you put your 0 mark on the zipper and you measure down. So mine measures about 12 millimeters. I'm going to call it 11 because I'd rather be a little off or a little on the shorter side than the longer side. So I'm going to do 11 millimeters and I'm going to write that down and double check the other side. It should be 11 millimeters as well. Oh. Okay, so once you have those measurements, we're ready to go to our software and start our creating. Okay guys, so we are going to open up our software to the digitizing module, and I'm going to do it from the tools. You can do it from wherever you want, but we are going to open up the digitizing module. Once it's open and you have the design wizard in front of you, we're going to do start a new design with no picture, and then we're going to hit next. Okay, we're going to change our hoop to 120 by 120. And I'm going to say okay. After that, I'm going to hit finish and I'm going to be on my screen. Okay, you should have your measurements from measuring your zipper. And the first measurement we need is the 27 millimeters. So we need to create a placement line so we know where to place our zipper. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on the View tab and I'm going to change my grid size to 27. That is going to give me the exact size I need for my zipper placement. I'm going to go back to the Point Create tab, and I am going to turn off pattern fill, and I'm going to change my satin line to a running stitch. I'm going to click on Create Area or Line, and I want to create a box directly in one of these boxes, side to side, edge to edge. So I'm going to click on my shift key on my keyboard and I'm going to click. And I want that corner and click in that corner to make a straight line, then straight down, and then straight back over. So I have basically done every corner of a rectangle the size of one grid square high and by the length of the hoop. Once I have those there, I'm going to right click and I'm going to right click. So right clicking sets the points. I'm going to right click on running stitch on my film strip. So step 2, right click on that. I'm going to say properties and I'm going to say closed border line. So I'm going to put a check mark next to closed border line and say okay. That is going to close up my rectangle. The next thing I'm going to do is, this isn't really important, but I want to show you how this is done. If you notice that my lines are just a wee bit, so I'm going to hit zoom 2 so I can show you. They're a little bit crooked. So I'm going to go to the home tab. I'm going to choose edit points. I'm going to hold on that shift tab. And I also want to make sure that this says 120. This is very important. I don't want to go outside my hoop. So mine says 120.1. So I know I need to come in a little bit from my hoop or into my hoop. So I'm going to straighten this one out and see how that becomes a nice straight line. And it's also going to be within that 120 millimeters. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. This one needs to go out a little bit. Make sure I don't mess up my top and bottom. Release. I'm still within my range. And my lines are nice and straight. Okay, so again, this measurement over here, we always want it to stay within that 120. It's not a huge deal because our final stitch step is within that boundary. So the outside stitches don't need to be exact. They just need to be inside that. And you'll see it in a little bit. Okay, so what we have done was we made the placement stitch for our zipper. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that now. Oops. Okay, so here is what that stitch that we just created does. It puts a box onto our stabilizer. So this is just stabilizer. It puts a box on there so that we can put our zipper in there. So we have an exact place where we put our zipper. Here's my zipper, and I'm going to just put it inside of there. And it fits perfectly. You're basically going to tape this in place, and the next 2 stitches that we're going to create are the zipper tack down. So these stitches will hold our zipper down while we complete our design. Okay, so as you saw, that puts that square on our block, on our stabilizer, so that we can now show where to put our zipper. Okay, so our next step is we're going to right click on step 2, and we're going to do insert color change. Now, some designers use stop commands. I don't. I use color changes to make the machine stop so that I can do things that I need to do. Not all machines will read stop commands, so I do like to do the color changes. And the way I do my color changes, at least for this project, is I just pick the next blue in the row. So I'm going to pick 2526 and say okay. All right, so now the second measurement comes into play, that 11 millimeters. So it's 11 millimeters to the center of my zipper. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change my view, and I'm going to change my grid. Now, the grid size on this one is, I want it to be at the top and the bottom of the zipper. So it's only going to be a few millimeters inside of that square. So I'm going to drop my grid size to, let's do 5. That should be okay. All right. Or let's do 9 or 3. There we go. That makes it perfect. Okay, so 3 makes it so that it's divisible. 27 is divisible by 9, which gives me the grid size of 3, which makes it even. It makes it just a little bit easier for you guys to see with an even screen or grid size. So I am going to zoom in to just my rectangle. All right, I'm going to hit point create, and running stitch is fine for this. It's just to tack it down. If you feel more comfortable doing a double stitch, by all means, you can do that as well. I'm going to leave it as a running stitch just because I know that there's a lot more stitches that go on here that are going to really lock that down. Okay, I'm going to do create area or line, and I'm going to use this 3 millimeters. So I'm going to make my zipper tack down 3 millimeters from the top and bottom edges. So I'm simply going to hold down my shift key, click on the left edge, 1 grid square down. I'm going to click on my right edge, 1 grid square down. And again, I'm going to right click to set the points. I'm going to check my measurement and I'm still in range. So I'm going to do my next one. So I'm going to put a point, hold down my shift key, put a point along my left grid size, 1 grid square from the bottom, 1 on the right, 1 grid square from the bottom, creates a straight line, right click to set it, make sure I'm within my range, and I am, and I'm all good. These will be the stitches that lock down your zipper so that we can start stitching out the design. So I will show you those. Okay, so my zipper has now been stitched down, so I taped it on there, and now I can remove my tape. And it doesn't really matter what end your zip is on. Your little pull thing, we will be moving that, or not really moving it, but whatever. But now it's stuck to my stabilizer, so we are ready to digitize step 3. Okay. Okay, so our last steps tacked down our zipper. So our next step is going to tack down the bottom lining and front. So this is a fully lined zipper pouch. So we have to do a lining and the upper fabric or the top fabric. So to do that, we need to keep that 11 millimeters in our head, and we need to create a new line. Now this line is going to be a double stitch because it is a seaming stitch. So let's get started. We're going to right click on step 5 and do insert color change. We're going to choose the next blue in the line. So we're on 2526. So we're going to do 2624. We're going to say okay. And these are just the colors to do the lines. You can change these to whatever color you want. Okay. Oh, and you can make sure you never have the same color. So like one of the reasons that I pick these blues is because I know that my design that I'm going to add to my bag is pinks and bright blues and yellows and stuff like that. So I'm using a color scheme other than what my design I'm going to finally put on it is. So just keep that in mind because you don't want any colors to be identical because it might combine them and stitch out incorrectly. Okay, so we've done color 6. So we want to tack down our fabric. Now I use my original box or the bottom of the zipper as a placement stitch. It just makes it a little bit easier and I'm not adding extra lines on my design. So when I do this, I want a seaming stitch. And after the seaming stitch, I want a top stitch along where the zipper is. So if you ever look at a zipper pouch, there's these cute little or these decorative tack down lines so that it's a little thicker so that you have this nice line around your zipper. In order to do that, I need space between the tack down and that stitch. So from the bottom one, because we are going to do the bottom section first because that's the one that's going to hold the design. Not that it really matters, but okay. So this is my tack down. These are 3 millimeters. This is extremely tiny space, extremely tiny. So 3, 6, 9, 12. So that 12 millimeters is my zipper is going to be right about in here. That's where my zipper is going to be. I want my line to be close to my zipper. I want it to be on this line. Actually, I probably want it to be closer than that. So I am going to place my seam line, 3, 6, at the 9mm mark. No, wrong. I'm going to put it at the 12mm mark. Okay, but we don't put it at the 12mm mark, remember, because we don't want it to get too close to our zipper. So I am going to change my grid size to 2.5. Okay, 2.5 gives me a pretty good accurate part. So 2.5 is 5, 2.5, that's 7, 9.5. When I do this on my own, it's so much easier. All right, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay, so we're gonna put it at the 10mm mark. So change your grid size to 2mm, and then we're going to put that at the 10mm mark because that technically should be 11. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So it should be right here. Put your point, and then directly across on the other side at 10mm. Go ahead and right click to add that line. I'm going to change my grid back to 3 just so I make sure 3, 6, 9. Yep, so we are right below that 12mm mark, so we're right about at 11. Okay, so that should work pretty well. If you're nervous, you can always drop that line a little bit lower. It's not going to hurt anything. It's just you're going to have a gap, more of a gap in your zipper, or you're going to see more of the color of your zipper, the fabric of your zipper. Okay, so that is now done, and I'm still within my 120, so we are good. Okay, so this stitch attached the front and the lining of the fabric. So what that means is that now we have to fold the fabric down. But most zipper pouches are going to come with a design on them. So we are only going to lower the front fabric. We're going to leave the back fabric up. Okay? So I will show you. I'll be right back. Okay, so the stitch we just created did this. So here's the back of my hoop. This is my lining, and it's taped in place. So I taped it in place before it's stitched. This is my top fabric. I did put a fusible batting on it, and it's going to stitch it over. So for our next stitch that we are doing, the next one is going to be so that we can remove. I'm going to remove the tape real quick. Baby. Come on. Ugh, seriously. Okay. So once the tape's removed, this piece is going to go down because this is the piece we want the little cute design to be on. So it has to go down first and be tacked down. So the backing or the lining is going to stay on the back up while the next stitch is going to tack down the top fabric. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, once you have that stitch done, we are going to now do the tack down stitch so that it holds that fabric down while we get the other stitch or the design stitched out. Now, the design getting stitched out is not going to be done in this module because I want to show you how to use a blank one and add the design later on. So we're going to create the whole bag blank, and then we'll add the decorative design in later. So you'll see mine with the decorative design on it before it's actually done. Okay, so we're going to add that tack down stitch. So we are going to right click on step 7 in the film strip, and we're going to do insert color change, and we're just going to pick that next blue. So 2525 is the one I will be choosing, and say okay. We're going to go to point create. Our grid does not matter at this point, and we are going to change double stitch to running stitch. You're going to locate that line, and you're going to hold down your shift key, and you're going to put a point on that line. You're going to put a point at the bottom left corner, a point at the bottom right corner, and again, a point at where that line is at. You're going to go ahead and right click. And as you can see, I am right in my area. Oh, wait. Sorry. My bad. Undo that. Click undo. The theory is correct, but I forgot. We've got to move this down. Okay, so right now, if we did this, the top would be really little, and I want to add words to the top. So we are going to add those. And hold on one second, because I have to look at, whoops. Sorry, guys. Hold on, guys. I have to find my original. Let's see how far down it is. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, right? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. So 14. Okay, so go back. So, well, you don't go back. I go back. Okay, so we are going to go to the Home tab, select All Visible, and we are going to move this down so that this top line is 14 down. So change your grid to 14 millimeters. Nah, that's not going to work. 2. Okay. Change it to 2, and you're going to move it down 14, so 7 blocks. So 1, 2, 3. Oops, that was my bad too. Okay, get back to point create. All right, so move this straight down to 14. So let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, one more. 14. Okay, and this doesn't have to be perfect. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Okay. All right. Now we can do the bottom. Sorry, guys. Totally forgot about that part. We were just using it. All right. So don't worry about your grid. Running stitch is fine. Create area or line. We're on step 8. Make sure 8's highlighted. And then we're going to do exactly what we just did. And we're going to place our points with our shift key in each of the corners and at the top. So 1 at the left side where that line, where our seam line was, 1 at the left corner, 1 at the right corner, and 1 back at the right side of that seam line. We're going to right click, make sure you're still at the 120, which is fine, because again, we are going to move our final stitch in, so that's okay. Okay, this is going to tack down that other fabric, or that top fabric. I do want to point out that the way I do my lessons is that I do show mistakes. I could easily edit those out and retake them, stop, go back, do all that. But the simple fact of the matter is, when I create these designs, you see a final product. When I create them, it takes all kinds of time to be like, oh, that one didn't work, change. Oh, that one didn't work, change. So it's not uncommon for digitizers to do things and mess up. And a lot of times when you watch these videos, they don't show you messing up. And I don't think that's fair. It is not easy to create something from scratch and try to use your head to figure these things out. So I do show you the mistakes. And I try to show you how to adjust the mistakes and go back and fix them. So, all right, so back on topic. All right, so we now have our main fabric, or a top fabric tacked down. This is where, so basically on step 9, after step 9, you would add your design to your product. But we're going to skip that for now. And I will be back and we will do the tack down of the lining and add the top, and then we're done pretty much. So let me go switch and show you that. Okay, so the stitch we just did was this to tack this down. Notice that my lining fabric is still pulled up, but we created this stitch. Now what we're going to do is we're going to pull this one down. Move the tape, I guess. Pull it down and retape it in place. Make sure it's all nice and stiff. And now we're going to do the top portion of the bag. So the first thing we're going to do is create the seam line, the tack down seam line, to do the top. Okay, so we'll do that now. Okay, so we just did that line. Now we have to do the top part of the bag. So we're going to do the same concept. We're going to change our, do we need to change it? Let me look. We might need to change it. Nope, I don't think we need to change it. So we're going to do our seam line. So 2, 4, so we did 2, 4, 6, 8. So we're going to do 10 again. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And technically, we want it to have that extra little thing. So I'm going to select all visible, and I'm actually going to move this up so that line, so it'll match. Okay. So go back to step 9, right click on step 9, insert color change, grab the next blue in the line, say okay. Go to point create tab, create area or line, change to double stitch because this is our seaming line. And we're going to do 10. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Hold down your shift key, place your first point, 10 or 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from the top. So we're skipping this little one and going 5 down, and then 1 on the opposite side to make our straight line. Right click, make sure we're still in our thing, and we've got it. So now this is the seam line for the top. Okay, so you'll put your top fabric and your lining fabric, 1 on the front, 1 on the back, and you'll stitch this stitch down. The next step, just like the other one, we're going to make sure that this top one gets tacked down so that we can add a design. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you this line in stitched form. Okay, so the stitch line that we just created was this one right here. Okay, so once that's on, so here's the back. The stitching was not great. My bottom messed it up. Don't care. Okay, so this one's going to stay down. This one is going to come up. So like that. And the stitch we're going to create next is the one that's going to tack this down. Okay? Okay, so we now need to tack down that top piece so that we can do a design on that. So we're going to change the double stitch to a running stitch and create area and line. We are going to right click on step 11 and we're going to say insert color change, and we're going to go grab the next blue in the line. Mine's going to be 2612. Say okay. We're going to go from this line. This is that seaming line that we just did. We're going to go from here. So shift key on your keyboard, click in the corner, top left corner, top right corner, and back down to that line. Go ahead and right click. I'm still within my 120, so I'm good. And I've got that tack down. Once this tack down is done, you can then proceed to stitch your design on the top. So I will stitch this out and come back and show you in stitch form. Okay, so the stitch we just created is going to be this one, and notice that the back is still down and it just stitched this up and put the words on it, which we're going to do in the other program. Okay, so now what we're going to do before we do the 2 final steps, we are going to add a decorative stitch here and a decorative stitch here to reinforce that zipper and make it look really nice. So that's what we're going to do now. Okay, so like I said, we're going to do that decorative stitching now. And I am going to go to the View tab, and I'm going to, oh, it is at 2. Okay, we're going to leave that at 2 then. All right, we're going to go ahead and do right-click on step 13, insert color change. And this color, I'm going to just choose the next one in the row. On this step, you could actually, if you wanted to, do the color you really wanted. I know which step I'm on, so it doesn't really matter to me. And I'm going to say OK. We now want to make a 2mm stitch above this. So this is our seam line right here. This one and this one are our seam lines. And we want to make a decorative stitch 2mm above this stitch. Actually, I think I want to do 3mm. Let me look at that real quick. Let's see. 2mm, 3mm. No, 2mm will be fine. I just wanted it, I don't really want it to kind of get lost, but it won't. Okay, so from this line down here, this is the one we're working on, we are going to do that decorative top stitch. So I'm going to go to Point Create. I'm going to change my running stitch to a triple stitch. We already changed the color, so I'm going to go ahead and 2mm above this line, so our seam line. We're going to hold down our Shift key, put a click on the left side, put a click on the right side, and this line we want really nice and straight, and go ahead and right click. We want to look visibly at that line and make sure that it is nice and straight, which it is. I'm still within my 120mm, so everything is correct. And now I want to do the same thing below this one. Now notice it has that 1mm gap right there. So what we want to do is we want to go home, select all visible, and I just want to move this down a little bit so that I can use the grid to put that line. So once I've got it moved, I'm going to left click on color 50 or on step 15, and I'm going to make sure that I have create area or line selected, and I am going from this line, so from our first seam line, this was our first seam line, this was our second seam line, we're going to do another 2mm line, Shift key, click, Shift key, click along that 3mm line, make sure it's nice and straight, right click, and there we go. Make sure I'm still within my 120, I am, so we are all good. So I've now done a decorative top stitching. Now, at this point, so before I did this line, I did flip the lining up on the top. So it was down. After I stitched that step, I did flip it up and this stitch would be done. Okay, so I'm going to show you that stitched out. Okay, so the stitches we just created are going to be these ones right here, these top stitching, okay? And this is the back. So you can see that this had been flipped up. So now you have this gap right here. Obviously, this is where your zipper is. So the next 2 steps, I'm not going to show each one sewn out because they're basically kind of the same, only one has an opening. So I'll kind of explain that in the video. So we are almost done. So at least with stitching or creating a blank one, and then we'll add the wording and a little icon for design. Okay, got it? All right, so we're gonna go create the last pieces of the bag, which are going to attach the top fabric and the back lining fabric so that our bag is complete. Oh, I will say this. At this time, after this step we just did, take your zipper and move it about 3/4 of the way. You don't want it to be in any of these, but you want this gap, okay? And then I do sometimes put tape right there just to hold it so when it does do that final stitch, it stitches nicely. But you do want to open your zipper, otherwise it's going to be hard. So go ahead and do that, and we'll create the last 2 steps. Okay guys, these are the last two steps that we're going to create. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go home, select all visible, and we are going to move this back up into the hoop. Okay, so we want that to be completely in the hoop. All right, our first step is to attach the back fabric to the front fabric. So in my case, the white fabric without the cherries is my front fabric. So I want to tack that down. So on this stitch, I'm going to place that back fabric face down over my design, and I'm going to stitch the next stitch. And this stitch is super easy. So we're going to right click on step 16. We're going to go insert color change. We're going to grab the next color in the list. So China Blue 2523 in my case, say okay. All right, I'm going to zoom out for this one. And this one, I want to put a box around my design so that it is the size of the hoop, okay? Or in this case, it's a little bit smaller. So if you see that bottom line. So whatever your lines are, you want to put it all the way around. So I'm going to go to point create. I'm going to do a double stitch, and I'm going to do create area or line. And I'm going to use my shift key, and I'm going to place a point or a dot, whatever you want to think it, in every corner of my hoop. I'm going to right click, go to properties, and I'm going to do close border line, and I'm going to say okay. That's it. That one is complete. I am going to home, select all visible. I'm going to center mine in the hoop. Okay. All right, mine's now centered. Okay, if yours isn't centered, you can go ahead and do it. And like I said, you just do select all visible, and then this little marker right here in the center, that is what's you want to center. That's your center mark. Okay, so mine is all done. I'm going to click on step 18. Right click on step 18, insert color change. I'm going to choose the next blue, 2302. This is your final stitch. This is the one that actually locks every bit of it together. Everything else is pretty locked together, but this one is your final stitch that just creates everything and ties it all together. This design, or this part of the design, requires you to leave an opening to flip the whole design so that your lining is just that. It is a lining. There are no seams shown. So your last stitch, when you flip it, you would have to stitch the bottom shut, but that's it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go 2 millimeters from every side. And because mine, it doesn't fill the hoop completely, I'm not 100% sure how I managed that one, but I also see that that's crooked, but that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and I am going to leave it just because I've done all this and I don't want to mess it up, but I am going to keep with that 2 millimeter, okay? Or it's not going to be quite 2 millimeters, and that's okay. All right, so step 19, point create. This is a double stitch. I'm going to change this to a triple stitch. This is the one that sews it all together and locks it together, so I'm going to do a triple stitch, create area or line. I want to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I'm going to start 11 grid squares over, and I'm going to place my first point. Okay. Then 2 millimeters from the edge, I'm going to place my next point, and I am going to make sure that these are nice and straight. Okay. 2 millimeters from the top left corner, 2 millimeters from the top right corner, 2 millimeters from the bottom right corner, and then 11 over. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, something around there. It doesn't have to be exact on that. Okay. And nice and straight. I will tell you that normally I make a small opening because I don't like to hand stitch a lot, but it is easier to turn if it's a little bit bigger. Okay, once you have your points in place, right click to set those points. Check out your lines. If they're not very straight, go Home tab, Edit Points, and straighten up those lines. It can be a bit tricky, and it doesn't have to be perfect because trust me, that tiny bit isn't going to matter when it gets flipped. I don't have my correct mouse, so this is a little bit harder than normal. Okay. Any lines that you saw might be a little bit crooked, you can go ahead and straighten those up now. Otherwise, your design is now complete. This is going to, oh, this is really, okay. Once you're happy with it, this is it. This is the complete thing. So the last thing that it does is stitches the lining onto the back. So your lining piece, so in my case, the cherries, is going to be put face down on and taped in place on the back of the hoop. Okay. So we're going to go over these stitches really quick one more time just so you know what they are. This is your placement stitch for your zipper. These two stitches are the tack down for your zipper. This is the seaming line for the bottom lining and the bottom top. This is the bottom top tack down. This is the seaming line for the top lining and top fabric. This is the tack down stitch for the top fabric. This is your decorative top stitching, decorative top stitching. This adds the back top fabric to your design, and this adds the back lining fabric to your design. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and finish the stitch out to this and come back and show you, but in the meantime, we are going to do File, and we're going to do Save As. You're going to go ahead and name it, and you can name it blank, blank zipper pouch is what I do. And then say, put it wherever you want and choose Save. Then you're going to export this because we do need it in a stitch file in order to do what we want to do next. Say OK. And then we're going to do blank, zipper pouch, pouch 2, and export. Okay, I will come back with the final stitch out and I will show you, and then we'll go and we will finish it up. Okay, so this is the front of the completed back. So this is that one stitch that I said attaches the back to the front, and it is right side down, so it puts it on there and you can no longer see your design. The back, I did do my final color in white, so that, notice the pink square on the front. You cannot see that on the back because this piece is put on after that. It is also face down against the lining, so it's right sides to right sides. So if you looked at your lining on the back, it was showing right side up, so right sides together. Then it stitches from here up and around and back. Okay, your design is done for a blank zipper pouch. We are going to do the next part with the designs and where to put the designs. I kind of mentioned where we did in the lesson, so you kind of had a kind of know a little bit. So basically, once this is done, you would cut it out and flip it. And don't freak out because the first time you flip it, you just see the line. The second time you flip it through the zipper, and I will come back and show you guys that after we put the designs in. Okay. Okay, go ahead and open your standard embroidery module, and we're going to choose blank canvas. We're going to choose the 120 by 120 hoop. Say okay. All right, once your hoop is in, we're going to go File and Insert, and we're going to go find that blank zipper pouch. So blank zipper pouch, and then say Open. Okay, so here it is. Oh, I keep forgetting to lower that. Okay, here it is. So now we want to insert a cute little design or something into it, add words, whatever. But you have to know where to insert them at. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to grab a design, and I did use an ice cream cone that I created. So I'm going to do cute ice cream cone. Oops, the small one, I'm pretty sure. And then say Open, and there he is. I'm going to put him over here. Now, there's no reason at this point right now to do anything but put him where you want him. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add lettering. And I used this Curlew 15 to 50, and that was under the Elegant. So if you click on your Show All and you locate your Elegant category, it's Curlew. You can do whatever font you want. This is small, so just keep that in mind. And I want to do Sweet Treats. Oops. Okay, and then I'm going to say Apply. And I want this to be in this section right here. Okay, now how do you know where you need to put it? Let me show you. Okay, this line is a seam line. This is a seam line. This is that top stitch. All these you are not going to see. You're not going to see this one, you're not going to see this one, and you're not going to see this one. The only one you're going to visibly see is this one right here, this triple stitch. So you want to make sure that your wording is above that, but below this stitch right here. So this is your outside stitch. This is your finishing stitch right here. This block right here. So you want to make sure that your wording is anywhere between this line and your triple stitch line. So I'm going to center that up a little bit. Goes that way a little bit. Oops. Oops. Okay, there. Okay, perfect. All right, so now I have that. So I'm going to zoom out. All right, and I think I'm going to move my ice cream cone over just a little bit. Okay, and you can do whatever you want. You can put your ice cream on this side, on that side, in the center, wherever. I really thought when I redo this design, I wanted an ice cream cone, so I did one. When I really do this, I'm going to do a vinyl cutout in the center and put little candies around it, but that's for another day. Okay, so Sweet Treat. So I am going to change the color because there is a chance that this color is used in my blue blank one. So I want to change this color. So I'm going to double click on the color on the right in the design panel, and I'm just going to choose a different color. And I want to make sure that this is a color that is not in my selection. Okay, so then I'm going to go to the Home tab, and I am going to combine and combine all. Okay, so the first part of this design is all my blank bag. The second part is my ice cream cone, and my third part is my words for Sweet Treat. Now, if I were to stitch it out as is right now, I would have my bag, and this would stitch everything together on my bag. And we don't want that. So we need to put the ice cream cone and the sweet treats where they belong. So we're going to click on the Modify tab. And we are going to come over here on the right, and I'm going to uncheck all of these. Now you may be wondering why I don't do this in the Create module. The reason is I might want to do a design that I didn't create. And when you bring in a design that you don't create into the digitizing module, it can alter it. We don't want the design we're putting on our pouch altered. So the way we do that is we do this in the embroidery module. Okay, we're now going to do number 9, we know is the last stitch. Number 8, again, we know that's the last stitch. Number 7, this is our triple stitch. So we know we don't want it there. So we have a few. So this was the zipper placement. This is the zipper tack down. And this is that seaming stitch for the bottom. Okay, so we know we're getting close. So the seaming stitch for the bottom. Now this is the tack down. Let's see if I can show you this a little better. This screen is a little pretty. Can you see that? Possibly. If you can see it, you can see that blue line down at the bottom. This screen isn't the best to be seen on, but it gives you it, if you know what you're looking for, and if you highlight it, see it's going to show you that on the screen, and that is that front or top fabric tack down. Okay, so we know we want the ice cream cone to be directly after that stitch. So 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19 are all the ice cream colors. So we need to move these all up here. There is no way that I have found to raise them up as a group. There may be, and I just haven't found it yet, but right now it isn't. So I need, number 10, I need to retain this order. So I need these colors to remain in order. That is really important. So make sure what color you're on, what the next color is. And that's why I always do these different colors. Okay, so we're going to click on 10 because that's the ice cream cone and that goes first in the stitch out. So we're going to put that one directly below 4. Okay, the pink color is next and it's going to go directly under the brown for the cone. The red was next, black is going to be next. So make sure you keep, because the numbers change. So the next one is going to be black. So red, and we're going to put that below pink, black, and this is going to be dependent upon your design. So anything that you enter has to be done the same way. You need to make sure that these colors are staying in the order and they're going one after another. I do find that it's somewhat easier to create my own designs, so I don't have to worry about this. Okay. All right, so we now have our front top fabric stitch tack down and our ice cream cone. The next one is going to be this seaming stitch for the top. Number 16 is that tack down. So we know the words need to go after that tack down. So this is my word color. So I'm going to go ahead and move that up to under 16. 18 is going to be my top stitch. 19, my front, my first, my back top fabric, and last is the lining and the completion of the design. Okay, so we're going to go home. So now you can see that the total order of everything is changed. You still have 20 color changes, but your ice cream cone and your words are going to stitch out in the correct order. I know that that is kind of a lot to keep straight. The key to everything is to make sure you keep everything in order. So ice cream, or the cone, the ice cream, the cherry, the eyes. So the eyes, I'm pretty sure we're supposed to stitch out before, but that's okay. The little icon. Just make sure that everything still goes where it needs to go. And remember that the first color in the design is going to be underneath everything else. So they build upon each other. Once you have that done, you can file and you can export your design and get ready for stitch out. Okay guys, I hope that made sense. If not, you can ask questions in the comments and I will get back to you. As soon as I'm going to show you the how to flip your finished stitch out, and then that's it. So hang tight. we're almost done. Okay guys, so once you get it cut out, remove the tearaway as best as you can. And once you have it cut out, you're now ready to flip it. So I cut my top fabrics along that line and left just my lining with a little gap, otherwise a 1/4 inch around. Okay, so you have an opening, so you're going to flip it. Hopefully it's easy. Like I said, my first one, I'm pretty sure I made the hole a little smaller. So flip, 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 flip. Okay. Okay. Okay, so then push out your corners. And once you get your corners pushed out, I don't know, I'm always so quiet when I do this. It's like I'm concentrating so hard. Okay. So this is what it's going to look like when you do this, all right? Remember how I said you wanted that opening? So there's this extra piece of tearaway, so you're going to remove that. And now you see that. Now this is where you would stitch it up, so you would fold this under and this under and whip stitch that closed. But then to see your design, you're going to flip it one more time through your zipper. Okay. All right, guys. That's it. That's how you flip it. You would push your corners down, give it a nice press, and your little zipper pouch is done. All right, guys, that's it. I hope you got a lot out of this lesson. I hope I didn't go too fast. I hope it made sense. If you like it, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. And that's it. I will see you next week. I haven't really thought of what we're going to do next week. We might actually digitize maybe like the little ice cream cone or something using our imaginations. Okay, so that's it for today. Have a great day.